Jeff, over the weekend, there was a big little wrestling event they held for themselves at the Cleveland Browns Stadium. It was a huge event. SummerSlam is now in the books. And of course, we know this might have been the last one night SummerSlam. Next year, SummerSlam will be a 2-night affair. You and I haven't spent much time talking about the business implications there. We know once upon a time, the Tokyo Dome event became a 2-night affair for New Japan. So they had Wrestle Kingdom night 1 and 2. And then the world changed because of the pandemic. And well, we had a sort of a closed set. We saw a WrestleMania from the Performance Center, and it became a 2-night WrestleMania by accident. But now we've just sort of kept that going, and now it's bleeding over to other pay-per-views. A 2-night SummerSlam.
Wow.
I think this is the beginning of a new trend. I do think eventually there will be a 2-night Royal Rumble. We'll have a ladies' Rumble on one night and one world title match, and then the next night sort of the same thing. I think this is the new precedent that's going to be set, and it's going to mean a lot more money and a lot more opportunity and a lot more revenue for the community. What do you think of a potential paradigm shift? We're going to make these major tentpole events, whether it's WrestleMania and now SummerSlam, 2-night events. What do you think, Jeff?
I'll let you give away the topic. Today's topic is going to be right in line. This is almost like a precursor. You're teeing me up because where we're at today, but it just feels not that long ago, like you said, that doing a stadium show was monumental. WrestleMania is going to a stadium show. It feels like now, and I know we've been doing it a while, or it's been going on a while, but the 2-night event, and let's not forget SmackDown and Raw in the different cases, or the Dynamites and Collisions and, the regular flagship shows, but a 2-night event, it is such, I guess in a way, a footprint that where professional wrestling stands in the entertainment sphere. And, Kenny Chesney was just in town, Conrad, doing down at Titan Stadium. He had a stadium show. There's Morgan Wallen over the weekend. He made news for unique reasons, but he's out on a stadium tour. There's a lot of different stadium tours and live events and big deals, but professional wrestling, content is king. But when you I don't know if you saw my eyes when you went down the road of Royal Rumble going to 2 nights. So Royal Rumble, 2 nights in the future. SummerSlam's already going to be. Everything you said, the revenue is going to be generated, but I guess the opportunities to, my man Jelly Roll was on this weekend, just to integrate so many different avenues. Yes, the wrestling is the core, and that's the content, and that's why at the end of the day, all eyes will always point to that main event payoff, if you will, in the ring. We'll get to that in a second, but a 2-night SummerSlam or just a 2-night stadium event in professional wrestling, who would have thought? And it feels like things are getting quicker and faster, and the business is expanding just at breakneck speed, because we hadn't even really touched on the global aspect. When we're going to Wembley at the end of this month for the second year. Oh man, Conrad, does that turn
think about that, Jeff? I don't mean to cut you off, but you had inside of the course of a calendar month, when we look back at the end of this month, we're going to look back and we're going to see that both WWE and AEW had north of 50,000 people in the stadium in the same calendar month.
Yes,
I don't think anything like that has ever happened in wrestling before with 2 domestic companies. Now, I know that people are going to say, well, there was a Wrestle Kingdom that had so many, and there was a Royal Rumble that had so many in January. I hear you. But I'm saying even at the height of the Monday Night Wars with WWF versus WCW, there was never a time where we had 2 shows that big, stadium shows, monster shows from both brands. Now, yes, we had big old nitros that had 30 or 40,000 people there. But I'm saying a big event like this in the same calendar month, I don't think it's happened before. I mean, I could be wrong, and I'm sure I'll get fact checked, but it really just stuck out as I was watching SummerSlam, I was like, wait a minute, we're only 3 weeks away from this stadium show of All In. And by the way, 4 weeks after SummerSlam is another stadium show for WWE, Bash at Berlin. So we're going to have inside of a month period there, really 3 stadium shows, 2 for WWE and 1
Berlin
for AEW.
Stadium.
Yeah.
Dadgum. Yeah, that's where we're at, pal. In Triple Mania, August 17th. It's not a stadium, but Arena Mexico. What do they call that? Ciudad.
You know what? You're correct. My apologies. There's only 17,000 seats at the Uber Arena. So
I was thinking that, but still,
yeah, still, it's a 1 week after. You're saying,
the global aspect's where I'm going with it.
Yes, just the revenue generated from
Yes.
both companies on just a handful of dates. I mean,
Yeah.
it really is. We're in a wrestling renaissance of sorts right now, and I saw some critiques and some criticisms. I think someone over at the Observer said something along the lines of, when there's an AEW pay-per-view, you're going to get 3 or 4 really incredible matches. Whereas on a WWE pay-per-view, maybe the match quality isn't as good, but the fans are really at the edge of their seat for the story. And I know AEW has story, and we're not trying to have that sort of negative conversation. I'm just saying they delivered on a lot of story at SummerSlam. I'm curious if you saw it and what you thought of some of the payoffs and some of the twists and turns along the way.
Well, of course, Cody. I mean, Conrad, if Cody's in my house, what do you think? We just
You're watching it, yeah.
it is on, and it's fascinating to watch him watch, because he'll get into things, and then he'll get up and, hey, I'm going to go in my room. Hey, Dad, tell me when so-and-so comes on, and I won't get into who he taps in and out of, but it is fascinating. And then maybe he's not into the beginning of the match, and he'll walk back in. But, he was waiting, obviously, on the big payoff. He was waiting to kind of see the Punk Drew evolution, if you will. You just said something to the effect that the payoff on the stories, the next step. Oh, Dom, that character development. He's so relatable, Conrad. You just want to smack his jaws off. Anyway, it's characters. It's all character. But I enjoyed it. I mean, I like the spectacle, and of course, I'm looking at the business aspect of it, and that's an NFL stadium, and I don't even know the backstory, how they landed from a business deal, how they landed in Cleveland. I know Minneapolis has got big stuff coming up, and we're making announcements, and just it's
Can I give you a spoiler? I believe.
Yeah.
It all comes down to business, baby. JR would tell us it's all about cash and creative. I have a feeling if WWE's running a stadium show in your town, there are a lot of incentives from the local community.
Yes. Yeah. And that's, the Browns owned by a Tennessean family. So where does the city land all that? And, the organization, Absolute Intense Wrestling, that went up and took Nathan Segura to the woodshed, they had shoulder program around it, and at Cleveland Live. And it's just such an economic impact when these big events roll in. It's good for everybody. Absolutely good for everybody. But a good show. Back to your original question.
We know that Roman Reigns is back. We know that Gunther is now the world champion. It looks like we've seen the Judgment Day break up. Rhea Ripley is now firmly a babyface, and I suppose so is Roman Reigns and Damian Priest. And the story goes on.